Hello everyone, this is Katie here. In this video, we are going to learn about the EVS topic, the story of water. This is the first video, that is part 1 of the chapter. So watch the video attentively. Happy digital learning. Now, in introduction, what we are going to learn. In contents, you can see what we are going to learn in this video. We are going to do introduction, sources of water, and water cycle. We will do these topics in this video, part 1. Let's see the introduction of water. Distribution of water resources. About 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered with water. The total amount of water on the Earth is about 1400 million cubic kilometer, according to United Nations Environmental Program 2002. Of this, around 97.5% by volume is held in the oceans and is salt water. Only 2.5% or about 35 million cubic kilometer is fresh water. Water, a substance composed of the chemical elements hydrogen and oxygen, and existing in gaseous, liquid, and solid states. It is one of the most plentiful and essential of compounds. A tasteless and odourless, that means no taste. A tasteless and odourless, that means no smell. Odourless means no smell. A tasteless and odourless liquid at room temperature. It has the important ability to dissolve many other substances. Indeed, the versatility of water as a solvent is essential to living organisms. Life is believed to have originated in the aqueous solution of the world's oceans, and living organisms depend on aqueous solutions such as blood and digestive juices for biological processes. In small quantities, water appears colourless, but water actually has an intrinsic blue color caused by slight absorption of light at red wavelengths. Intrinsic means natural. Intrinsic means natural. Water is a valuable natural resource that is found in different forms in the environment. It is important to understand how water moves through the environment so that we can understand how to manage it successfully. Really, water is a very valuable natural resource which is found in different forms in the environment. Fresh water is finite and vulnerable. Finite means limited. Fresh water is finite and vulnerable, very valuable. Supplying sufficient, clean, fresh water is one of the most vital natural resource issues facing humanity. Water shortages are becoming a global issues due to an increasing population, economic growth, and climate change. A lack of clean, fresh water can hinder the efforts to reduce poverty and progress national development, resulting in poor health, low productivity, food insecurity, and restricted economic development. Water is a very important factor for the development of any country. The country which have no proper supply of water, which have less fresh water, cannot develop and prosperous. Luckily, the country like India, we have lots of water. Now, let's see the different sources of water. We are going to see the different sources of water. Water is very important for us. We are going to see the different sources of water. I'm going to explain here now the different sources of water. You can see in this picture the different sources of water. The main two different sources of water are surface water and groundwater. Surface water, which is above the ground, and groundwater, which is under the ground. Surface water, sources of surface water includes lakes, ponds, streams, rivers, storage reservoir, and the sources of groundwater includes open wells, tube wells, artesian wells, springs, and infiltration. So this was the different sources of water. Now move further. There are two main sources of water, surface water and groundwater. Already I told you. Now let's see what is surface water and what is groundwater. Surface water is found in lakes, rivers and reservoirs, whereas groundwater lies under the surface of the land, where it travels through and fills opening in the rocks. The rocks that store and transmit groundwater are called aquifers. The rocks that store and transmit groundwater are called aquifers. So these were the main sources of water. Now let's come to what are the natural sources of water. You can see in this picture the different natural sources of water. The different natural sources of water are oceans, rivers, ponds, lakes and streams. They are the different natural sources of water. Now I am going to explain you in detail what are each of these sources of water. Let me explain you in detail. Pay attention. Lakes and rivers provide much water to wild animals, and if cleaned and filtered properly, it could become clean enough to drink for humans. Most countries with access to lakes and rivers use their water for human consumption. This source of water supply is usually regularly replenished by various weather events. Replenish mean fill up again. Replenish mean fill up again. Now let's move further. Groundwater is water that is found underground within rocks. Its presence depends primarily on the type of rocks. Permeable rocks have tiny spaces between the solid rock particles that allow water and other fluids to pass through and to be held within the rock structure. The layers of rock that hold groundwater are called aquifers. I told you before also aquifers. So this is what aquifers are. The layers of rock that hold groundwater are called aquifers. Now let's come to rainwater. Rainwater is the source of water that comes from above the clouds. All of us, we know what is rainwater. This water is very pure. It is the purest form of water. Until it encounters something on it way down. However, if it is stored properly, it may be relinquish, that's been give later on, clean drinking water. In regions where rainfall is abundant means very high, and frequent, means always, rainwater can be a good source of water supply for individual, families, and some communities. The storage of rainwater is particularly important in areas with a long dry season or where spring water is difficult to obtain. So this was, I have explained this rainwater. Now come to wells. Wells can be excavated by hand if the soil is not too hard or the water table is high. Hand dug wells have a relatively large diameter because they have to be wide enough for a person to be able to stand inside and dig. Wells can be of two types: shallow wells and deep wells. Shallow wells and deep wells both are important source of water. Now come to surface water. Surface water is easily the most abundant supply of natural water. The downside is that most of the surface water on the planet is salt water, so it is not ideal for drinking for most living species. Surface water does play an important part in our daily lives, in addition to being a source of drinking water. So huge amount of surface water we utilize for different uses in our daily lives. Now come to melting snow. Melting snow is another natural source of water. When melted in great amounts, can yield clean drinking water, especially once boiled. So melting snow can be a source of water, and huge amount of water of the earth is stored in the snow form. Remember it. Now let's come to salt water. Salt water from oceans can effectively be processed for consumption through desalination process. Desalination process means the process of removing salt from the seawater. It's called desalination process. So salt water from oceans can effectively be processed for consumption through the desalination process, removing excess salt. Without this process, the water becomes counteractive and actually dehydrates you. Dehydrates you, that means it is of no use, make your body lack water, which is dehydrate. So it is very necessary to remove salt from the salt water. Now move ahead. Now we are coming to the most interesting and important part of this chapter, water cycle, which is also called hydrological cycle. So now I'm going to explain you what is water cycle or hydrological cycle. This is very important topic of water, hydrological cycle or water cycle. I'm going to explain you. Pay attention. The hydrological cycle or water cycle is the continuous circulation of water between oceans, atmosphere and land. The sun and wind cause water to evaporate, that it changes its physical state from liquid to gas, from land and water bodies, that is from oceans, lakes and rivers. Also, plants take up liquid water and give off water vapor through pores in the leaves in a process called transpiration. The water vapor moves high above the Earth's surface on rising currents of air through the atmosphere. Eventually, as the water vapor reaches the cooler air higher up in the atmosphere, it condenses, means changing from gas to liquid, to form clouds. and falls back to earth in the form of rain and snow. Together these are called precipitation. Precipitation that falls on land can flow over the surface as runoff into rivers and streams, and can also percolate means trickle down through the soil into the underground rocks to become groundwater. Water is held in reservoirs and moves between them in transfer processes. Reservoirs here refer to all stores or reserve of water, not just water held behind the dam. The water transfer process continues in an ongoing cycle through evaporation and transpiration, transportation of water vapor in the atmosphere, precipitation and water flowing off and through the land back to the sea. So this is how water cycle takes place, how hydrological cycle takes place. I've explained you the whole mechanism. So in this video, part 1 of the story of water, I have explained till here. Further, I will explain you more related to this chapter in my next video, part 2. So keep on watching my video. Till then, goodbye.